What's good, Steeler Nation? My name is Jack Sperry, and this is Steelers Talk. Today, we're going to be going over your answers to last week's poll question on Kenny Pickett and whether or not the Steelers should consider drafting another quarterback if Pickett isn't up to snuff by the end of the season. But before we get into all of your awesome answers this week, I'm going to ask you to subscribe to the channel right now. We are so close to 19,000 subscribers, guys. Only 86 subs away from 19K. And once we get there, I'm going to wear a Terry Bradshaw bald cap for an entire episode here. So if you want to see that happen, if you want to see me with the bald cap with the white fringes on the side and be Terry Bradshaw, go and subscribe and help be one of those last 86 people to get us over the hump and get us to 19K. All right, let's get into the poll results from last week for a question that asked if the season ended today and the Steelers had the 4th overall pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, would you consider drafting another quarterback and trading Kenny Pickett for an additional draft pick? And a whopping 75% of you answered no to this question, 3/4. And I'm actually with you guys. Right now, if the Steelers had the 4th overall pick and we've only had 4 starts of Kenny Pickett for a sample size, I wouldn't be looking quarterback. I want to see a larger sample size. And personally, if he's still not getting through his reads, if he's still showing terrible pocket footwork, if his deep ball accuracy isn't there by the end of the season, and there's a chance to get a really special talent in the NFL draft next year, that's when I would consider it. But like I've said in prior videos, I don't think that's going to happen. I think Kenny's going to be fine, most likely, and I think Kenny's going to have at least a couple of years in Pittsburgh to prove that he is the guy. But we have another poll this week on the channel, and this week it's also Kenny Pickett, guys. What are Kenny Pickett's chances of becoming a superstar quarterback in the National Football League? The options are highly likely, likely, somewhat likely, not likely, or no chance. And what we mean by superstar QB, guys, is someone that's consistently one of the highest producers in football, is year in, year out, one of the top 10 guys in the league, someone that's always in the MVP conversation, someone that is a mega talent and considered one of the top guys in the National Football League. That's what we mean by superstar, and I'm going to give you my answer to this question at the end of today's show, so stick around to hear my answer for that question. And right now, this poll question, it's our pinned comment, okay? So go to the pinned comment. Whenever there's an ad break on this video, go to the pinned comment, click the link there. It will take you right to our community page where the poll is right there. Give your answer and then put in a comment with your answer explaining why you're giving the answer that you're giving. The top comments will be on next week's discussion video where we will discuss Kenny Pickett's likelihood of becoming a superstar in the National Football League. But without further ado, guys, let's get into your comments this week. And the first one comes from Nick. And he says, patience is what people need to learn with QBs. Not going to break out first year. Give it some time. Relax. We have a solid roster and a good pick coming up for this year's draft. Just need a real OC. The defense plays good, but they're out there every 2 minutes with the offense going 3 and out every possession. And Nick, I completely agree with you that the Steelers need a change at offensive coordinator. I think most of Steeler Nation agrees with you. Let's take a look at the guys that I think would be excellent fits to be that next guy at offensive coordinator for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I have Darrell Bevell, Frank Reich, the QB coach in Philly, Brian Johnson, Greasy Robinson, and then Josh Heupel from Tennessee. Any one of these guys I think would be fantastic in the role. And personally, Kenny needs somebody in there that can give him a shot. Look at Tua Tagovailoa this year. In prior years with Brian Flores, and they didn't really have an established offensive coordinator there, Tua was terrible. His lack of arm strength was showing up. His timing on the routes was not fantastic. And now that Mike McDaniels is in the building, he's scheming guys open. He's got Ty Hill and Jalen Waddle getting open for him, and he's lighting the world on fire right now. He's an MVP candidate as of today. He's 6-0 as the starter of the Dolphins. So I understand what Nick is talking about here, where if Kenny can get a legit offensive coordinator, then he can really blossom, and I actually really agree with this comment. And before we get into the other comments today, let's have a word from our sponsor at BetUS, which is the sports book partner here at Chat Sports. And right now they still have this amazing deal right now that they're offering to you guys. 125% deposit bonus on deposits of $100 to $600. So if you put down $100 to $600, BetUS is going to double your money and then give you another quarter of that money free of charge to use on your bets. Right now, football season is heating up. The basketball season just started. Hockey season just started. It's an exciting time in sports, guys. So if you love sports betting, use our promo code Steelers125 at our link, chatsports.com/bet, to get that 125% Steelers or deposit bonus. That's promo code Steelers125 at chatsports.com/bet. All right, now let's get into the other comments today. This one comes from Jeff Tracy that says no, emphatically no. That's something perennial loser franchises do. Steelers need so much help, i.e. O-line, pass rush, corner. Give Kenny a couple years to develop. If he doesn't develop even after you surround him with talent, then you move on. And guys, I agree with this. I agree with this somewhat. Like, I agree that Kenny Pickett has a shot here. He has a shot, and I'm rooting for him to do it. I'm not some Kenny Pickett hater out there, guys, that's saying that, I don't like Kenny Pickett personally. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that I'm rooting for him to do better here over the second half of the year. But right now, the film shows and proves that he is not playing well. That's just what the facts are right now, guys. And I'm going to tell the truth here on this show, and Kenny Pickett is not playing well right now. So I'm hoping that he can get things going. But his limited skill set, guys, in my opinion, should give him a shorter leash. Like, if you are a massive talent, like a Trevor Lawrence or a Justin Fields or a Malik Willis, right, where you've got a cannon for an arm, you can run like the wind, like you have all these physical qualities that can turn you into a potential superstar in the future, then I think you have room to be a bit more patient. But with a guy like Kenny Pickett, who's a bit limited physically, he's got an average NFL arm, he's not dynamic as a runner, playmaking is okay, maybe not on the level of Patrick Mahomes, but it's fine. Like, there's a lot of okay with Kenny Pickett, but there's not a lot of special. There's not a lot of wow in his game, and because of that, and he's 24 years old, like, he needs to get things going, man. He was drafted to be a pro-ready guy that was ready to come in out of the box, and he's just not showing that right now. So, I'm going to give him every opportunity in the world, but at the end of the day, this is a business. If he's not getting the job done, then the Steelers need to move on eventually. So how many years would you give Kenny Pickett to prove that he is the QB1 for the Pittsburgh Steelers of the future? For me, the answer is most likely 2. I think the Steelers are going to do well enough for the end of for the rest of the season where they're not even going to be thinking about quarterback next year. They're going to have a new offensive coordinator and see how Kenny Pickett does with that new offensive coordinator and that new offense. And then if he's still not doing well after that second year, I think he's probably going to get the boot and the Steelers are going to be looking in another direction. But let me know how many years of bad play you would put up with for Kenny Pickett in the years to come to see if he can blossom into a potential starter in the league. Now let's get into our third comment today, and it comes from Mr. Malvo. Okay, this has been said since last season that draft class of QBs were not good. This class coming out has way better QBs. QBs come a dime a dozen. He ain't nothing. He isn't Pickett. Is nothing special. Work is work. He's not untouchable, and he's definitely not living up to his hype at all. He is, however, living up to concerns. See, I don't go off narratives and narrations. I go off proven facts. He looks mid-average, and he's nothing special. He also says, I'm not a hometown hero type of fan. I don't care what he did at Pitt. His stats were trash up until the 2021 season. I stated what I did for a reason. He can be traded to a team that wants that noodle arm and picks. That ain't Steeler ball nor the standard, and he's not a Josh Allen or Lamar or Joe, and I think he means Joe Burrow there. He's who he is, and that's it. That's all. Now, I do agree with what Mavlo has to say here for the most part in terms of what he's done on the field so far. These are my concerns for Kenny Pickett through the first 4 starts, 5 games. So about 4.5 games there. Mental processing's not there. He's skittish in the pocket. And then the lack of arm strength is what's really killing him right now because, if you're a Trevor Lawrence or a Justin Fields or Josh Allen that can really just zip that football and you have a cannon for an arm, you can get away with quite a bit of issues, especially early on with footwork and timing. But with Pickett's arm, he has to be pretty much perfect on all these things, and he's not showing good footwork. He's not doing a good job with his timing right now, and it's affecting the offense in a major way. And right now, there's just not a whole lot of special there for me to really invest long term. If I could get like a CJ Stroud or a Will Levis, in the top 3 of the draft next year, especially if we're drafting in the top 3 of the draft next year, guys, Kenny Pickett has played absolutely terribly, right? So at the end of the day, if there's a chance to get someone that has elite physical traits over a guy that's had pretty much an entire year of bad football, I'm going to take the guy with the special traits that could be a superstar. So here are the guys at the top of the 2023 NFL draft that could potentially be options for the Steelers. Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, Hendon Hooker, Will Levis. All of these guys have potential superstar level physical qualities, and they got big-time superstar upside. So if the Steelers have an opportunity to maybe snag one of these guys and Pickett is just not looking well, not saying that's going to happen, I'm just saying that if Pickett doesn't play well for the rest of the year, then you have to take a look and see what you can do and see if there's a guy that can really be special for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, our next comment comes from Tornado720 here, who says, this is why Canada should be fired now. He has never had success anywhere, even in college. Mike Sullivan has experience and has 2 rings under his belt, I believe. He also says, if Kenny still looks rough under Sullivan, then yes, I would really consider a new QB. But if Kenny starts to look much better under a new OC, then we know we have our guy for now. Keeping Canada around makes no sense. Nothing good will come from it aside from a better draft pick. And like I said before, guys, Canada is not it. He's not it. Obviously, a new offensive coordinator would help a ton. Just take a look at these atrocious stats that have come out of the Pittsburgh Steelers offense this year. They're dead last in yards per play. They're 31st in yards per completion. So even though they're bombing the ball down the field quite a bit, I think they're top 3 in deep passing attempts. Their yards per completion are nowhere near where it should be given the amount of deep passes that they're throwing right now. In fact, they're almost dead last there at number 31. Then third down and in the red zone, that's really where coaching and scheme shows up. And right now the Steelers are really struggling in those 2 categories in the bottom 10 in the league. And it's just an embarrassment to the Pittsburgh Steelers organization. Matt Canada is, by the way. And I mean, Kenny Pickett is a part of the problem too, but I absolutely agree with the notion that Matt Canada needs to go. And I think really to get a fair evaluation of Kenny Pickett, Canada definitely needs to go. So hopefully Tomlin or Rooney or somebody steps in here and takes care of the Canada problem so that we can get maybe Mike Sullivan in there and see how Kenny does under that regime instead of this clown Canada. All right, let's go to our last comment here from Buddha. I think that's how you name it. It's either Buddha or Buddha. However you say it, man, I really like this comment here. So he says, in my opinion, it depends on how the rest of the season goes. I don't love Kenny, but I think he's solid enough to win some games. The problem is, however, is that the AFC is stacked with really good quarterbacks. I'm not sure if we can be amongst those teams and even beat them not having an elite QB. He also says Pickett can be better, but another problem is that the bro is 24 years old and played 5 years of college, where his best year was in his 5th year when he played against weak competition. And by the way, they had a really good offensive line at Pittsburgh last year too, so not a lot of pressure either. When he called out the team, I would also love my QB doing that. But as the QB, you got to show us that you're worth the pick, and he's looked solid, but he makes some mistakes that he shouldn't be making. He also says his upside compared to a lot of QBs is relatively low. I think that at his best, he'll be a Kirk Cousins, but I haven't seen anything that makes him special, you know? But if we're in the top 3 range for a pick and Bryce Young or CJ Stroud is available, I wouldn't be surprised if the Steelers take either. Now, I really like the point that Buddha makes here, that the AFC is loaded, guys, with young, dynamic, superstar QB talent. I mean, just look at these bona fide superstars. These are the guys that we know for sure are going to be superstars for like the next 5 to 10 years at least. Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Justin Herbert and Joe Burrow. All these guys are bona fide superstars in this league that can put a team on their back and be the reason that a team wins because of. They're more than just players or QBs that can win a game with a good roster and a good defense and a solid run game and can win games with that. But no, these are guys that can elevate a roster, that can elevate a team. And at the end of the day, it's going to be tough if you don't have one of these guys, if you want to be a Super Bowl contender every single season like the Pittsburgh Steelers want to be. And it's not just these guys. There's some other guys that could be potential star QBs in the AFC from now on. Tua Tagovailoa is looking really great right now. Trevor Lawrence, obviously the Jacksonville Jaguars aren't where they need to be right now, but Trevor Lawrence's skill set is off the charts. Same thing goes for Malik Willis. He has not been doing very well so far in his first couple starts, so he could very well be a bust. But if he hits with that running ability and that arm and that playmaking ability, Malik Willis has a chance to be something really special. Who knows if it's going to work out? It's only his first year. He has a lot of growth to do, but he could be a potential threat in the AFC as well. And then just the only reason why I have Deshaun Watson on this list and not on the bona fide list is because he hasn't played football in nearly 2 years at this point. And right now, I wonder how he's going to play coming off of that absence. In the preseason, he did not look good at all, but he certainly has the potential, the physical upside, the arm strength, the playmaking ability. We saw what he could do in Houston. He could potentially be a really, really solid superstar quarterback option for the Cleveland Browns in the future, and that's within the division. So, in my opinion, if the Steelers want to get back to winning multiple Super Bowls and really competing for Super Bowls year in and year out, the Steelers need a star QB of their own. They need somebody that they can win because of, not just, that they can win with. There's a big difference between the two. And really, if in the modern day NFL, I think in the last 10 Super Bowls, 8 of them have been won by superstar quarterbacks or quarterbacks that have been playing at a superstar level. So you need somebody that can really step up in those big moments and beat these kind of really great elite quarterbacks. And the question is, does Pickett have enough star power to really compete for titles year in and year out? Is he the type of guy that can be top 8 in production every single year? Is he somebody that can put up 45, 50 touchdown passes in a season? Is he somebody that can really ascend to that level? And I'm not sure if he can, guys, but let me know in the comments, can the Steelers win a Super Bowl with Kenny Pickett in the future? Type Y for yes, type N for no. This one's a tough one for me, guys, because I think Kenny is limited. I think Kenny is limited physically. I think because of that, if he wants to become a superstar, he needs to really ascend to the level of a Breeze or a Brady or a Manning to really in terms of his mental processing, his timing, his anticipation, his footwork. Because he's physically limited, there's less margin for error for him to become a superstar. So I think he needs to really refine the rest of his game. And right now, that refinement is nowhere to be found. So it could happen to anybody. I think that it could happen. But go ahead and go to this. So here's the poll that we put up earlier. This is the new poll for the week. Go and give your answer in the pinned comment, and then go comment on it to try to get your comment on next week's show. And I promised you guys my answer to this. And for me, I would give my answer for not likely here. I don't think it's very likely that Kenny Pickett becomes a superstar. I think that he has a fairly decent chance of being a solid starter, somebody that can come in and you can win because of. If you have a good defense like the Steelers have, if you can get a good run game going with Najee Harris and Jaylen Warren in the future, or maybe somebody else, if you can have a good roster, I think Kenny Pickett's the guy that you can win football games with. But is he somebody that's going to be like Patrick Mahomes level production, someone that's making all these crazy plays, someone that can run like Lamar Jackson and get all this production on the ground? What makes Kenny Pickett special? It was supposed to be his playmaking and his mental processing coming out of college, and neither of those have shown up on tape so far. And I'm really, really hoping, because I don't want to waste another first rounder on a quarterback. But if he's not living up to it, if he's not handling NFL life very well, especially after 2 years, the Steelers need to move on, and they need to try to find somebody that can really compete for Super Bowls in the future. All right, guys, that's going to do it for today's show. Thanks for commenting on last week's post or last week's poll. Make sure to go comment and give your answer to this week's post. And until next time, guys, peace.